Hello, my name is Adam, and I run the channel. By the way, I'm me. Hi. Today, I will make my very first ever Transformers review video, and why not start with one that I haven't seen a lot of people do. I've seen like 2 or 3 videos on it. If there are more, I just haven't seen them. So, this will be a review about Transformers Collector Club subscription exclusive animated jackpot. Now, online, through Google and everything, I see him referred to as Jazz. But with YouTube, I see jackpot. And the colors made me thought originally, before I found out it was the Tfcc, I thought it was Ricochet. So many different names have been in my head, but because of review name-wise, I'm just gonna call him Jackpot, since that's what everyone else wants to call him. Even though he could have easily been Ricochet. Now for a Jackpot, he turns into the same car Jazz did in Transformers Animated. The wheels roll very well, and I love the red windows. Right here is where I originally thought it was Ricochet, because Ricochet has those flames on the roof, on the hood, and that could kind of be the same thing. Plus, he has all of the same colors. Black, the gold being right there, but with most of it being replaced by yellow. And this is the underneath the car, but who displays it like that? Why? And with the design of it, I think this is kind of forgivable. It's not the best ever designed figure. I still think that there are a couple more, which I'll get into in my later reviews, but this is a really good one. I can't find Jazz anywhere, so this is my only, exposure to the figure, and it's really good. So, with the black colors and the red windows, with surprisingly the back window is painted, which probably has to do with the transformation, and these becoming the knees of the legs, so I can see past that. For some for a deluxe, he becomes a very tall robot, which we'll also get to that. Another thing, the Autobot symbol really sticks out really well, more than most car formers, in my opinion. I think that it really does well. While I continue to talk about him, I will transform a couple of my other figures that I have over here for the size comparison. So, you may hear some fiddling. But with Jackpot, the painting and sculpting is, well, the sculpting is minimal. He doesn't really need a lot of sculpting, but the painting on him is amazing. And an animated figure really needs, really is something that I really like, because with animated, the show wasn't my thing. I did not watch it. I did not grow up with it. I grew up with the movies more. So with me growing up with the movies, And not watching animated, I had no reason to want to collect the figures. So a huge part of my life so far, until about maybe last year when I got my first four animated figures, uh, pretty cheap, 10 for them all together, and they were all completed, or not completed, but they were, all their parts were on them. They just didn't have some of the weapons. Um, I'm pretty sure. I never really looked into them again because animated wasn't really something big. I just wanted to see if I missed out on anything really big because I had heard that animated was such a good show around the time that I got in it, and then I had found out who the designs were made by, and the designs were always something that I liked. The designs were simple yet sleek and very, very nice. Um, and with him, uh, and with the Transformers really, uh, with the figures really making a huge impact on my idea of animated, um, I ended up watching the first couple of episodes, and it has everything that a child show would. It has the characters, the kid appeal characters. It has the not very good comedy, all within like the first couple of episodes. But there's also the seriousness of the characters and what they're going through, um, and you get to really get the characters throughout the first episode. So Megatron, obviously, you know he's a leader. Starscream, you know that he is uh, devious because in the very first episode, he plants a bomb on Megatron, making him crash land on Earth. Lugnut, and Lugnut's kind of the stupid one, but he's also the fun one, just like Bulkhead is on the Autobots. Bumblebee is the kid appeal character, but um, I feel like they dealt with the kid appeal character a lot better than they did in G1, which may get some people mad. I don't really care. And then there is um, and there's Optimus, the leading Autobot that we all know is the leader, because although whenever we're first introduced to him, he's not very leader appropriate, I guess, considering he's young, but throughout the show, he becomes a very good leader. And I think that has something to do with the animation style as well. Whenever it comes to animation and everything, it really means a lot more than just interesting pictures. Sure, that's what some people are looking for whenever it comes to animated Transformer shows like Prime, which ended up becoming one of the best Transformer shows, if not the best. In my opinion, it is the best. A little bit better than G1, which might get me hanged, but you know, we're all entitled to our own opinion. And sure, I will admit, G1, if G1 hadn't existed, then we wouldn't have Transformers Prime. So, Transformers G1 is definitely the reason why we have the best show. But that just doesn't automatically make G1 the best show. Now, I found myself collecting more of G1 style stuff, but I would love to collect more Prime and animated and not Cybertron or any of the Unicron trilogy, really. But I have a couple of them, and the ones that I have slightly enjoyed. Mostly because of, just, oh, it's a new figure. So, after, like, about a month of fiddling with that same figure, I kind of grow old with it. Now, with Studio Series and Earthrise, I don't really do that. There's very few that I have done that, and most of them aren't because I don't want to play with them. It's mostly because of the quality control issues. I don't want to have to buy another uh, Blue Streak or something like that, so I kind of held off on getting the Earthrise version. But I do plan on getting him because he'll fit with my figures a lot better than the Siege one that I'm using. Um, Now, I'm sorry if I went on a tangent. Uh, Jackpot. Jackpot was a club subscription exclusive, and I didn't know that when I found him. I thought he was a Ricochet, and I thought Ricochet is normally a repaint of Jazz. Jazz is one of my favorite characters. I could get this. This could be like my, not stand-in for Jazz, but my filler until I get an actual Jazz figure. So he doesn't stay as Jazz in my line, but he does give me the sense that I have a Jazz until I get a Jazz. And although Jazz, like I said, is my favorite character, I don't have too many Jazz figures. I have a decent amount, and most of them are actually going to be G1 inspired, because that's his normal paint scheme. Like, for one, I have the movie-verse version of the G1 colored Jazz. And he really is the only Jazz that I have of the movie that's original. The only other movie Jazz that I have is the Studio Series version, which I don't like the colors for, but as soon as I'm able to get the Masterpiece version, I will, because I want to collect the Masterpiece movies characters instead of the Studio Series now. Just because it takes a lot more time to make this Masterpiece, and the more time there is, the more money I will have accumulated, so I will be able to afford them, instead of, oh, there's a new wave of 6 people coming out, might as well spend all my money on that. That's my idea. So, in a majority of the Masterpiece figures, I'm able to get, not secondhand, but pretty cheap from where I used to work, and still work. But, so, with those, I have a couple of the Masterpiece movie figures. I have Masterpiece movie Starscream, I have Masterpiece movie Ratchet, I have Masterpiece movie Barricade. Those are the only ones that I have so far, but each of them have been fun on their own, other than a couple of issues with Ratchet, having to do with the windscreen, which pops off super easily. But they're really good, and I like them. Now, this is the only Jazz figure that I have that isn't based on any other version of jazz, apparently. So it's really interesting to have that. So really, I think that with those reasons in mind, he has become one of my favorite figures. If you have watched my top 20 finds of 2020, you'll have noticed that he was in my top 20. And for good reason. His articulation is amazing in robot mode, on par with a lot of the newer stuff, actually. If not slightly better than some of the newer stuff. And he really, like I said, gives the sense that I have of jazz, even though I never collected one, or picked one up, or saw one, actually. Just the fact that with the multiple years that I had seen animated on shelves, jazz was never one of them. So it really also adds to that. Now let's get to size comparison. So we have okay. So for size comparisons, we have animated Optimus. That gives about the scale that they were. Transformers movie, G1 Colored Jazz. Pocket Toys Tuner with one of his cassettes, since they're all about the same size. Animated Soundwave. Animated Ratchet. And Studio Series 8402 Jazz. So, with that over with, into Transformation. Transformation with him is pretty good. He also comes with amazing weapon storage, which I'll talk about real quick. These intakes on the side of the car are actually removable and unplugged to become nunchucks, which I find as amazing weapon storage that they were able to come up with at the time. Possibly even better than weapon storage today, which is funny for a 2008 or 9 figure. So to transform him, what you want to do is you want to come back here and bring up these areas. Then you want to unplug the sides of the doors just enough to show the tabs inside. Next, you then want to grab the hands, and while moving the car door area out, you want to fold them down. So, around the wheel, out, and down. Next, you want to flip around this intake, and then fold around this arm panel. Same on the other side. And then straighten out the hands if they're bent in. Next, you're going to want to take the entire back legs behind the windshield and pull back, then fold down, unplug them, and then bring out the feet from behind. So right here, here's the feet, and then there's the feet. Next, you want to bring down this panel right here, right in front of the face, fold in the tires into the chest, and then fold down the chest. And then you can bring the tires and arms forward a little bit more. And that panel that we flip down in front of the face fills out that gap right there, which I think is amazing. And then you're done. You have Jackpot in his robot mode. Now, for him to hold the nunchucks, you want to take his hands, and using that port, you want to wrap his hands around the wire, and then you can have him hold it like that, or you can have him do the exact same thing, since he comes with two, on the other arm, except instead of using this one, he uses the bottom one, and he's able to do that pretty well. He stands pretty tall, and I'll show you a size comparison to some figures later. But for his robot mode, his head sculpt is amazing. He has very good articulation. He has a ball joint at the head, which can turn a full 360 degrees. Which also allows him to tilt, look down that far, and look up not that far. He has a ball joint at the arm, and because of the transformation, it can act as kind of a butterfly joint, but the wheel does move a little bit. It can move out that far. He has a bicep swivel. He has a double bend at the elbow, and he has a ball joint at the hand, allowing it to twist and fold in. Also, a tiny bit to the transformation. He does have a waist swivel, but it's up here, where the chest ends. So, kind of like right here on the human body. So, it's not really a waist swivel, but it works as a waist swivel. He has ball jointed legs that allow that range of movement. Can move forward that far and back that far. Amazing. He has a thigh rotation right here. He has a fully bendable knee back, and his foot can move forward, back, and do the same thing, but kind of pushed in a tiny bit. So it's a very good posable figure. No ankle pivot like what we're spoiled with now, but it's a 2007 figure, and we didn't really need that, or we didn't really expect that at the time. In fact, I don't think we expected half of the posability that this guy has. So it just shows how good he was. But he does have the minimum amount of articulation to hold a good pose. So because he has nunchucks, you can have him get into a pose sort of like that. So with that, you can see how much articulation and posability and paint he has. He has amazing paint on the waist right here, black paint with some red details right there. All of the stuff from the car show up right on the chest where the front of the car came from. All the painting on the sides of the car, the doors and everything are right here, so you can see those too. All of the painting on the back of the car and other top sides of the car and top of the car are seen on the legs. But the painting involved on the robot exclusive parts areas are really good. He has a little bit of silver right here. He has orange and blue on his head. He has yellow paint right here, but most of the rest is just yellow plastic. He has some black paint on the thighs and some orange paint on the sides of the hips, and the orange paint on the feet. And unlike a lot of my animated figures, such as one of my bumblebees back there, he doesn't really have much paint shipping, if any. I haven't noticed any at the moment. But with the minimal amount of paint chipping, if any, it really shows that the paint they used was pretty sturdy with this figure. Now on a couple of other figures, which I am using in my size comparisons, the paint on Ratchet, for example, hasn't really held up best around the sides, but a majority of it has done very well. He's been through a couple of falls, and really the only paint chipping that's 100% noticeable is right there. And then with Optimus, the same thing. Not much paint chipping, but some of the painting is kind of weird, like the yellow. But it's perfectly fine. It doesn't bother me at all. And there's a tiny bit of silver paint chipping on the back around the arms here, which probably will be seen more in the robot mode. And then with animated Soundwave, there's small, tiny bits of paint chipping that I don't think the camera will pick up, but it still looks very pristine. So with the figure itself, the painting and sculpting is very good. The sculpting that he does have, actually, because most of it is just streamline, so unlike with what we're getting with Siege and Earthrise with all of the sculpted details, we didn't really get that around this time for animated. While they were making the movie figures, obviously we were getting that, but with animated, to match with the style of the show, we were not. And really, after watching the new show, I don't understand why I disliked it. Um, he he has really made, so the first four figures that I got were Slug, Optimus Prime, Ratchet, and Bumblebee, and I liked them. They were fun and all, but after getting him and Soundwave in the same boot, it really made me feel like these were a lot better than what I thought they were, and they really are. I thought they were just pretty fun, run-of-the-mill Transformers, and I forget that with each series there's a new design aesthetic. So with one series, the design may look really cool, but with the other, the design may look very streamlined and boring. But with those series, the toys may be better. And I feel like that works since animated came out around and was making toys around the time of the movies. And the toys have, I'd say, pretty much held up, with a few small exceptions. Like some of the Legends, or one of the Legends figures, not Starscream really, more like Prowl, haven't really held up. But I can let Prowl slide for one reason: the fact that he is a motorbike, and motorbikes are the hardest to pull off. Look at Wreck-Gar. I don't think we've really had a very good figure of Wreck-Gar, except maybe in the Generations line, and the Generations line has been kind of dated now with the newer integrations of newer transformation things and parts counts. Even though the figures are smaller, the budget is a lot better, so making better figures. And if this figure and some of the other animated figures were made today, I don't think that anyone would really be surprised, because it has very good articulation. And the show, I feel, is at the point where we do need new figures of it. Maybe not mainline, but maybe just something masterpiece-wise. With how they're doing Beast Wars now, they may, I would be happy if they moved on to animated, making really good, bigger, animated figures, allowing for more transformation and better designs, and hopefully with better quality, because with, other than the Beast Wars figures, which I don't have, but my the YouTubers I do watch that have them, other than the Beast Wars figures, the Masterpiece line has been kind of iffy, and that's why I don't really have any Masterpiece figures based on G1, other than Masterpiece Sideswipe, and am waging oversized Masterpiece Optimus Prime. And I also have Bad Cube Sun Surge. But because that's third party, most people wouldn't consider him Masterpiece. But I do. I think he's slightly better than the Masterpiece, which also brings me to the fact with Masterpiece, I don't like whenever they're trying to be too involved. Like MP44 was just bad to the point of the paneling and everything. Just was terrible. I'm not like against paneling, but I think there's a point to where it should stop. And I feel like the same thing goes for the new Sunstreaker. Although Bad Cube Sunstreaker does have some paneling and everything, I don't think it's as bad as the official Masterpiece one. And I was pretty hyped for Masterpiece Brawn. I mean, not Brawn, Hound. Even though I probably wouldn't have gotten him, I was hyped for someone to review him. But then most of the reviewers that I watch didn't really like him, and I didn't either. Because the more they got into why they didn't like him, the more it really looked bad. Not like a bad figure, but more as a bad, because I don't think any figure is really bad. It's just a bad representation of G1 Hound. And I think that was very shown. But for animated, I feel like the paneling may work, because if the paneling is able to still look streamlined to the point where it's not that bad, then maybe the figures will look better. So, and I think I've heard other YouTubers talking about this. Hasbro and Takara really need to make Masterpiece animated. I think we need to move away from G1 for a tiny bit, because it has gotten a little bit out of hand with the whole G1 accuracy matters so much, which I understand. G1 came up with everything. If G1 didn't happen, then we wouldn't have anything. But that doesn't mean that every single toy line needs to revolve around G1 accuracy, or something accuracy, but still making us know this is G1. This is based on the G1 version of Optimus Prime, which every Optimus Prime is, because design cues. But with Jazz and Bumblebee, there's been so many different designs that they never really change. I mean, not really change, that they never really explore the fact that these are not the exact same versions as the G1. These are separate timelines. These are separate characters to begin with. While one Optimus Prime may have originally been a data clerk, the other one may have been just a normal guy who happened to be friends with Megatron, one of the biggest gladiators. Or there's some where Megatron becomes good, like in the IDW Lost Lights comic books, and the And with that, there's also the War Within, which shows things that happened before the main war with Optimus and Megatron, before everything got a little out of hand. And I think we need more stuff like that. A lot. Again, sorry for rambling. I just needed to talk so that way I could figure out, transform these figures, but I wasn't expecting it to be that long. So now, for size comparisons, we have movie Jazz with his G1 paint scheme. Jackpot is a little bit bigger. We have animated Optimus Prime with a very loose leg. Mine has a very loose leg, making it very hard for him to stand. But Optimus Prime is bigger by just about a forehead. Animated Ratchet. Which animated Ratchet is bigger than him by about a full head. Pocket Toys Tuner with their version of Laserbeak. Ratbat. And Ravage. So Jackpot is obviously bigger since these are designed for legend scale figures. Transformers Animated Soundwave, which Jackpot is bigger than. And Studio Series 84 Jazz, which obviously he is bigger. He is one of the biggest deluxes that I know of, only being beaten by Ratchet and a couple of others that I don't want to pull out right now. So with my rating system of this figure, and all of my figures from now on, I will rate them out of 5. And for right now, Jackpot is a solid, very, very solid 4.5 out of 5. Like, they are amazing. So that would put him at about a 9 out of 10 for a fraction of 10. Making him a figure that if you have the chance to get, I would recommend, especially if he's complete, like I have. Thank you for watching my video, and if you liked this, I know it's very long, but I don't have the software to edit right now. As soon as I do, they won't be as long. They'll be about maybe 10-20 minutes each. And it'll get along easier. But if you do like what I do, please subscribe and leave a like and a comment about what figure you want me to review next. If if I have it, I'll review it. Maybe not exactly next, but soon. If I don't have it, I'll have to. I'll try and find it if I have a want of reviewing it. So thank you, and have a great day.